could see you all.
Do you comply? All right. All right, y'all. If you feel ready, we'll go ahead and open it up. It looks like we have 17, so that's really nice. That's a good start, and people keep coming in. So you're good, Nestor. You'll be the first artist. Okay,
So also we'll read everyone's bio and then we'll say, and then you'll take over. So you'll share after your bio.
right.
Okay.
Okay, very good. All right, everyone, have fun. Thank you. All right.
Hello, everyone. Welcome.
Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Folks are coming in. Hello.
Hello.
Nice to see
Hi.
everyone. You can turn off turn on your microphone at this part and say hello if you like.
Hello.
Where you're coming in
Hi.
from.
Hello. Hello, Sally.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
My camera is not working for some reason.
Oh, hey Deb, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. I'm
Hello.
trying to see if my camera works. It's not working.
It's all right. We have your
Yeah.
image burned in our
Yeah.
mind from your beautiful work. An artist who shared last time is here, so that's wonderful.
Thank you.
Welcome. So good to see your name
Yeah.
anyways.
Yeah.
Well, welcome everyone. It looks like folks are still coming in. I understand someone says in the chat there's parenting chaos. I have it upstairs as well. So whatever you need to do, this space is open to whatever you need to do. So we're just glad you're here. We will be recording this evening. So just to have that in mind if you prefer to keep your camera on or off. And then once we get started, we'll obviously all mute and just have the artist. The artist will have the microphone. But welcome everyone. I'm Leslie and Anthoula is here. And we've been there you go. Go ahead.
Oh, just hello. Welcome. Good to see everyone.
It's great to see everyone. Yeah. This is our third Framing Grief artist talk. We did Anthoula and I just briefly will talk for just a couple of minutes and immediately hand the mic over to the four artists sharing this evening. The run of show will be 10 minutes each artist. We'll try to hold questions until all four artists have a chance to share their work. And then we are so open and happy and just would be really excited to engage in Q&A conversation with anyone who's in the room or the artist. We can do this any way you like. You're welcome to put any kind of questions, comments throughout the night in the chat. And then again, we'll get into live conversation after the artists have shared. But just, wow, there's a lot of people here. We're so excited. So I'm Leslie, and Anthoula and I met at ICP at the International Center of Photography, where I'm teaching for many, many years. And Anthoula actually came in as a guest artist a few years back and shared her work, primarily her artwork around her grief that she carries around the loss of her mother some years ago. And not only just a beautiful, evocative work, but it really stirred something in me that I had lost my mother at a very young age as well, not very young, in my 20s, but I never really fully made any work around it, but very much held space and still do in the classroom and in other areas for other folks kind of processing that. One of who's here, one of my most favorite artists, so I won't call her out, but she knows who she is, making work about her mother. And what I noticed, or what we noticed, especially during COVID, when there were a lot of online classes, that grief was a topic that was just really surfacing. And you could almost, even work that didn't seem it on the surface, you could kind of locate a layer of grief throughout. So immediately following the artist talk, Anthoula and I kind of connected out in the hallway and decided we wanted to do something together. So then we formed a workshop that we were teaching, and we did an open call just really out of curiosity. And I think about 50 or so artists responded for, so far, all the artists are here. Nestor, we actually asked here because we're colleagues with Nestor, and we've had him come into our grief class as a visiting artist. He'll be sharing work tonight. But I don't want to take up too much space, but thank you everyone for being here. Anthoula?
Yes, thank you, Leslie. So as Leslie mentioned quickly, we sort of connected through that artist talk that I came into her class and spoke about my work and my process, which included mostly using archival images and family photos to sort of rebuild and reconnect with my mother who had passed away at the time. And I tried to find ways to sort of figure out how I could continue to communicate with her and make work with her. After the fact that she's was no longer around. So after presenting this work, as Leslie mentioned, we felt this kinship to sort of make an open call for this, and actually we have started a class, a workshop that Leslie mentioned called Framing Grief, which actually is running. This is starting up again in April. There'll be the second class we'll be teaching. Some of you here, I see some familiar faces that were here during the first class. So we just sort of wanted to put that up for anyone who might be interested to share with anyone that might be working in this subject matter. And it's online and it starts in April through the ICP class, the classroom there. Leslie, is there anything else you wanted to add about?
Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to, I mean, the class is wonderful. It's a nice space for people to get together and look at work and think about work. But beyond that, you know, this notion of grief, we're still kind of working it through. I mean, last time we met was, I think, November or December, and there was such a moment of grief just online, everything that's happening. You know, there's always something happening in our political space, and with social media, we're constantly being bombarded by images of grief. I think now today I'm thinking of this young, beautiful young person, Next Benedict, who I just wanted to this young person in Oklahoma who's recently was you know, and was killed at school, which is shocking to me. Not shocking, but shocking. I'm thinking I'm holding space for them tonight. But also, you know, recently I was speaking with someone in a community group, and they were saying, you know, what do you say to someone after? And look, this is what I want to be clear is this open call wasn't only about loss, right? It was also about political grief, eco grief, infertility, loss of a lover, you know, of course, loss of a parent, but also just a general feeling of sadness or grief and of care. And one theme that always emerged for me over the years in my work and work that I'm really interested in is this notion of care and how care is tied to grief, and how it's in our care for one another that we can hold space in grief. And someone recently asked, what do you say to someone in grief? And one of the comments was that someone that they worked with said, hey, can I take you out for a cup of coffee and you can tell me about your loved one? And I thought, isn't that beautiful? Like just making space for folks to share their feelings and like ways of working. And that's really what Anthoula and I are happy to do here, is to kind of, you know, make this space so we can talk through it a little bit, whatever grief looks like for you and whatever love looks like for you, which is often tied up in care. And I think we'll find that in a lot of the work tonight. So I think we should get going and get started, but thank you everyone again for being here. We have 30 people. That's beautiful. And thank you. And you may or may not see some things tonight that move you in various ways or that provoke you or even trigger some feelings. So if you need to step out, turn off your camera, whatever you need to do, but this is a really welcoming and loving space. So we're happy everyone's here. So with that, we'll get started with our first artist.
Okay, Nestor's up first. Nestor Pérez-Molière was born and raised in San Juan, Puerto Rico, and currently resides in the Bronx. His art entails a process of self-discovery, a series of confessionals revealing private secrets, hoping towards catharsis. Through this process, he hopes to connect with the viewer's struggles and depathologize negative feelings so that they could be seen as a source for political action. Nestor exposes mental health issues like depression, dysmorphia, food addictions, and loneliness, describing their mechanisms, scrutinizing their origins, and illuminating the impossibility of fixing them. His practice mainly takes place in the realm of photography, but has also incorporated performance, drawing, video, installation, and intaglio techniques. He received an MFA from Hunter College and holds a BSc in botany and is currently a photography educator. He was part of Emerge NYC 2023, Artists in the Marketplace 2017, and Creative Capital's Taller 2019 mentorship programs, and was included in the Bronx Museum of the Art's fourth biennial. He has exhibited at the Museo de las Américas, the Clemente Soto Vélez, Bronx Art Space, and others. In 2023, he was a resident at Lower Manhattan Cultural Council's Governor's Island Art Center and Saltonstall Foundation for the Arts. Welcome, Néstor.
Thank you. Thank you, Anthoula and Leslie, for inviting me to this evening. I'm super excited. I'm going to show a little bit of my work. And I'm actually showing two pieces at the same time. So bear with me. I'll explain a little bit at the end. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
The hand comes flying. Fingers at the ready, they approach. They get closer to the chest, they touch. Immediately, a fiery sensation is felt on your tit. You pull away, but that only makes the fingers grab onto the nipple. They grab. The fire turns into an electrical jolt that goes deep into the flesh. Pacing comes out through the teeth. A lump forms in your throat. They pinch. The only thing you hear are the laughs from everyone around. You still pull away, but the fingers won't let go. They twist. You run out of air as you scream. This finally stop. You walk away. After so many times, the body just hunches over to hide the tits. You perpetually look at the floor. Rafael didn't let me go on a school field trip because he was a bully and I was fat. That day, I wore a neon yellow t-shirt. I was excited about it. I hadn't worn it before. Rafael looked at me and told me I looked as huge as the sun. He then shot me in the chest with a water rifle. I died at that moment. I returned to the car where my mother was and started crying. I tried to explain to her what happened, but the sobs wouldn't let me. That I was always teased and bullied by all the boys. I didn't want to go on the field trip anymore. I asked my mother not to make me go. Rafael didn't let me go on the field trip because he was an alpha male and I was fat. I deserved it. I never wore that t-shirt again. It's 2023 and it came out of nowhere. Just a month ago, I had posted something celebratory about my career. The posting had a series of selfies at the artist residency. In the photos, one can witness a Néstor full of joy as he jumps around the space. Later that day, my best friend texted me. They wrote to tell me that they saw my post. They wanted to be sincere and mentioned that I'm too obese. I'm worried about your weight. They did not even congratulate me on my achievement. You looked at me from across the bar. You winked at me and motioned to come over. I walked around the crowded Chelsea bar towards you. You looked at me up and down. I said hi. You said hi. We started chatting even though the music was banging loudly. Your name is John. You asked me about my day. I said that I was tired from work and exercise. You placed your hand on my chest and you pushed me away. You looked up and down my body. You said, "You don't look like you go to the gym." I walked away eating your words. How thin do you have to be loved? I find myself in Plaza Las Americas. It is crowded. Whole families and their children getting ready for the holidays. The water fountain has been covered and a large Christmas tree stands in the center with all its shimmering ornaments. They flock around it, taking photos. They point at it, their faces in awe of how tall it is. They worship it. I look down from the balcony above. I lean against the railing and stare down, their fingers pointing at me with an accusatory tone. My feet feel light. It is time. I'm very sure of this. At last, the goodbye. Without exerting much force, my body goes over the railing. They continue to point their fingers at me, judgmentally. I go against the grain. At least this way, I get to exert some emotional trauma on all of them. I spread my arms and finally feel free as a bird. As my body cracks against the ground, I wake up. What if all the time I spent wanting to die was just about wanting to be outside of a body that has endured what this one has? How does one live in a body when they have spent a lifetime trying to escape it? Why do people feel the urge to let me know that I'm fat? I know. You don't have to remind me. It's hard to honor this body that has gone through so much shame. I can fit into my clothes. No stores carry my size. I'm reminded all the time that I'm fat. Somehow you think that your reminder is going to help, as if I look up to you and that everything you tell me will make it so. Slim people always get on the high horse. Honey, I tell you, it's been more than 40 years living in this body that endured years of being touched, grabbed, pinched, and twisted. How does one live in a body when they have spent a lifetime trying to escape it? As if the power of your words is going to change my genetics. It's been 45 years of ups and downs. It's time to stop. This body has learned its lesson. It's never going to change. Wouldn't it be nice to just live within a body in peace? A body that does not need to worry about its nipples and belly. A body that does not have to worry about hiding. A body that does not have to worry about being bullied just for being. A body that eats whatever it wants without being criticized and judged. To go to the beach and be able to enjoy the experience without shame. To go to a social event and nobody mentions your size. To go to a gay bar and not have men judge you for your body. To go to a clothing store and find something that fits. To hop in an airplane and fit in the seat. To not be reminded all the time. It would be nice if the fingers would finally let go. So what you just saw was two projects at the same time, excerpts. The first one is, I'm going to read a little bit about it. It's how does one live in a body when they have spent an entire lifetime trying to escape it? The Fingers Won't Let Go is a painfully honest memoir. Through performance, video, and audio, I navigate many years of bullying due to fat phobia and its implications on mental health. The audio and spoken word walks us through childhood and teenage experience of bullying, while also sharing anecdotes of how bullying is alive and well during adult life. The work forms an archive of feelings and trauma. It is an amalgamation of shame, intimacy, grief, rage, love, and ultimately catharsis. The images that you saw was parts of a body of work in progress titled The Caresses of Your Bullying. The Caresses of Your Bullying is a photographic mural of chemigram and lumen prints. A chemigram is a camera-less photographic process that uses resist on light-sensitive emulsion. In this case, I use a variety of oils, butter, and lard. Cooking lubricants that are viewed through a negative lens by people that practice healthism and fear the fat body. Fat phobia is ingrained in society's psyche, and fat people tend to be victims of ridicule and shame. The index of pinches, punches, smears, and slaps are all recorded on the photographic emulsion as the fatty substances hold back the chemical effects of developer and fixer. Intricate patterns emerge, and the memory of bullying on the fat body is recorded. These scars are hard to heal, and the fatty substances behave similarly by being strong resists. The photographic chemicals do not wash off all the substance. These undeveloped unfixed areas remain active and light sensitive, resulting in areas that are lumen prints, areas that will perpetually change as light activates them.
Thank you,
Thank
Nestor.
you, Nestor.
Beautiful. I
Mm.
love hearing your words and seeing the chemograms together. That was such a beautiful experience, like multi-sensory. Thank you so much.
Mm.
Thank you. Thanks for listening.
Mm. Thank you, Nestor. So much love. Woo! Everybody on the silent Zoom space. Oh my goodness. All right. Thank you. Thank you for being here too. All right. Our next artist, Majo Martinez, is a visual artist. Sorry. Martinez is a visual artist, documentary photographer, and queer poet who co-directs the project collaborative network of artists, 6 Degrees of Separation. They nurture their projects with gender perspective and build up each through their life and creation experience as a trans non-binary person. Their work topics orbit blindness, the study of image and memory, sexuality as language, grief, intimacy, human connection as a metaphysical bridges of communication. Their work questions the limits of image using multidisciplinary tools that include photography, performance, audiovisual, creative writing, and poetry. During the quarantine in 2020, they developed the Gin Girl, GINGIRL project publication, which is now part of the Queer Collection of the United States Library of Congress in Washington, D.C. Welcome, Majo.
Thank you so much, Leslie. I really appreciate being here tonight, this evening. And I'm going to share a little bit of my work. So I'm going to share a screen right now. Oh, sorry, maybe I could, if I want to share audio, I need to put the button share sound. Are you watching the presentation right now? Do you see it?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, I wanted to start. I mean, we only have a few minutes, but I would really love to share a poem that I wrote when my mom started receiving the diagnosis. And she's a 4-stage liver cancer right now. And the name of the poem is Sitting in the Dark. It is naive, saying thank you to all of our years in less than 3 days. Feels like chaotically stumbling into our mistakes, the errors that confined us, the things we never were. Saying thank you to the time that's leaving us behind. The feeling of a dry womb, the feeling of a torn flesh feels dull while sitting in the dark. Saying thank you to my mom seems reckless, stupid, and hurtful for both of us. Saying thank you to my mom's cancer, it's naive. Feeling grateful is morbid, feeling sorry is tragic. It feels powerless, pointless, meaningless, nothingness. Time rushed in and spit us in the face. We're sitting in the dark. Death is here. I told you this attempt would be naive. So the idea of grief has lingered with me for a long time. And that leads me to the question, how do I grieve? How do we all grieve? Well, I feel that grief bonds us through diverse experiences, both universal and personal. But it is something we have all experienced, maybe not once, but even like a lot of times in our lifetime. Grief knows no magnitude. Yes, it can come from death, but it can also come from losing things, changing, and almost like forgetting our memory also. So it's about the sensation that it's gone. Grief for me is about feeling absence, presence, and the intimate spaces that are grown in between. I used to think about grief exclusively as my relationship with death, but now I feel that it is more connected to my idea of life. Grief as the reintegration of my emotional landscapes towards healing, losing, and changing. And this is a photo of a performance that I made a couple of years ago, where I am reclaiming something that I lost. It's pretty abstract, the idea of reclaiming something that I know particularly what it is. But then in a few years later, I discovered that it was the idea of me being transitioning as a trans person, and the discovery that I've been doing since I am not, I don't identify anymore as a woman, but as a non-binary person. And the project that I'm going to explore this night is Quizá la luz borraría todo rastro. In English would be maybe the light would erase all traces. And it's a series of 12 black and white images that came from a black overexposed film, an audiovisual piece, and a braille Ouija board that I have with me right now by my right hand. So if there anyone in the audience that is a little sensitive about those topics, I'm going to try to explain that this particular Ouija board was born from light. It's not, it doesn't come from any demonic, or, I mean, I don't have, I don't have any critics for demons, but this one particularly is made with tons of love. And this project is a result of an accident that occurred in the darkroom, where I, by a mistake, like a really dumb mistake of mine, I forgot to put to close the tank while I was exposing the film. So I decided that I was gonna work with this film, with this fog film, and the images that got lost in the process. And this film was being kept in oblivion during 8 years. So the memories were already lost, and they got even more lost when I did that accident in the darkroom. So a fundamental part of this project was also creating a piece of art object that would help me translate that loss. And that is why I created, with the help of a cabinet maker, a Ouija board, but a special one, which is a Braille Ouija board. Braille is a language that people that lost their sight used to read. Not all blind people know how to use it, but for me, it's a language, yes, but it's also trying to contact with something. Try to touch something and to stay in contact with that. So that is important. So for me, that I decided to put Braille in the Ouija board, because we are not only contacting the language that was maybe forgotten during the grief process between two people, but also we are trying to contact and establish a bridge of communication where there is no longer none. And after that, I decided the way to socialize this work was assembling sessions, like collaborative sessions, where I put out there an open call and people contact me, and then we all participate in a collective summon. And I ask all those who come to the sessions to bring photographs and special memorabilia of their loved ones. And through community, we all heal, we all share, and through photography also, we're trying to build that bridge of communication, but not only with a metaphysical type of view, but the way a grief that is that keeps going in our bodies, we are processing it. Sometimes that could cause us some diseases or some aches in our bodies and some psychosomatic things. So in collaboration, we are all healing and trying to say goodbye if we haven't said goodbye yet. This project puts us in contact with grief, with loss, and the emptiness left by affections, but the affections that affect our experience and shape us from the origin of the void, just as in the psychological theory of the ghosts, all desire arises from the lack of something from a ghost. These are the images that I discovered from the film. It was all black. So then I started doing like this cinematic frame type of thing because I got interested, like really interesting about the emotional landscapes that could be formed because the film got photographed by itself all around due of that accident. And the images, the way they were processed, it was completely new because these images didn't exist after the accident. So I think that is the way grief and grieving changes. There's no particular way of grieving. And I was studying like a couple of days ago that one thing is grief and the other thing is grieving. Grief is a noun and grieving is a process, is a verb. And the way everything, our world, our emotions, our emotional landscapes are changing constantly during this period of time, when we are losing, we are changing, and we are experimenting loss, we are forming, we are building new images inside us. And this is a result, and the disposition of the images is supposed to say goodbye in Braille. So that would be adiós in Espanol. So this is the way I was trying to say adiós to my losses, my loved ones, and also myself. I discovered that. These are some photos of the Ouija board sessions. I work with salt, I work with photography and water. This is a detail of the board that I have here with me. And this is a way I found through performance, I am able to open some channels and where the energy is shared among everyone. And then I discovered that grief is a grief of my own. It's not something that is a concept like away from us. It's a way, how do we appropriate of that grief? So experimenting and documenting my transition as a trans person. Since I was a little folk, I couldn't see myself in a mirror because of dysphoria, like in a period of time of 4 years. And I almost forgot about this, but then in psychotherapy, like 25 years ago, I discovered this particular time of mine. And the way I try to interpret that personal grief and that personal death was by assembling a skein of thread that was formed by bended photographs. And then I started pull the thread all around, and then I transferred to a piece of wood. So I think the transition is really important when we talk about grief, because some parts are gonna remain and some other parts are gonna lose definitely. And this is how I feel when I embrace my identity as a trans not binary person. Some things are gonna stay, but there are some things that maybe not. So this is how I hold my own grief in my own bare hands. And this is a performance of a transition. So I basically almost do the same, but try to transfer like from that stick to a rock to a tree, and then I start transfer like the skein of thread And it's almost like an alphabet of the body that's trying to tell me that something is happening besides that movements. Something has started to change. Because I can see spider webs, I can see, I don't know, it's just like a little sensitive thing when we are about working, about transferring the things that we are not longer are. And this is my new piece, and the name of it is in español, a veces cuando miro el mar pienso en mi muerte. And in English is sometimes when I look at the ocean, I think about my own death. It's a handwritten photography carved by me. And this is my sea. This is the way I think about my own death. And I recognize this because usually when we think about the sea, we think of it as blue. But then I started discovering that there were a lot of different tones and different colors and different shapes. For example, that reminds us more of the land, more of the dirt, more of the mud and the ashes. And it's a really particular time when I took this photograph. It's part of a series of 100. And it's the time after the sunset is almost passing through the night. So I'm talking again about a transition and like a very brief moment that in real time was like 5 minutes tops. And the way the light escapes, like so subtle and so soft, I think that is the way I've been trying to work my own grief. I think our human experience is a persecutory and endless transformation. We burn fast like tongues of fire before we go extinct. We want to burn everything to transcend the flesh. Prometheus stole fire from the gods and gave it away as a symbol of human consciousness. I think in art, the person who creates the work is the one who impregnates a part of themselves that gives birth to. It gets transformed into light and heat to be transmuted again. Only then art will become fire. It is a work of art that endures the inevitability of death. Fire will be extinguished by cooling. Inexorably, our bodies will also lose heat. We die. Incendiary, art will transcend the human experience. It is alchemy and final metamorphosis. It becomes fire finally. I think the piece of artwork will burn everything. And I truly believe that. And I truly believe that because we are here this evening talking about death and grief and losing through art and poetry. And I don't know, do I have more time to
I think
go
you have,
deeper into?
you only have about 1 more minute. I'm so sorry. In this
No,
venue,
that's
we'll
okay.
do this again. All right.
That's okay. Well, I choose to leave that last minute to talk about my collective, 6 Grados. We are a self-managed and independent project founded in 2022 by artist Francisco Javier Ramirez and myself. This project, conceived as a subaltern artistic practice, creates a network of diverse artists that generates a platform to exhibit their work. So I want to do a public call. If there are any artists out there that are seeking to be part of something else, something greater, something bigger and more expensive, please get in touch with me. You can find me on Instagram at majomartin.ez. So that would be all. And I want to thank you so really deeply from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for this space.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're so honored to learn about you and your work and your process. And there's something really, I feel really like at peace or something after that. And I'm not sure where that's coming from. That's super interesting. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, next we have Erika. Erika Kapin is a photographer whose work strives to authentically capture intimate moments. Her photography celebrates the human experience by sharing stories of people, their relationships with the world, and their relationships with each other. By sharing ourselves and seeing others in the ways that we are vulnerable, intimate, and mundane, she believes that we can recognize something of our own experience in others. Erika has several ongoing bodies of work, including the Open Photo Project, which shares the stories of polyamorous people, Underwear on Our Head, which explores queer silliness and vulnerability, Past Present, which focuses on healing our inner child, and Mom and Me, where Erika explores connecting with her mother who passed away over 20 years ago. Erika's work, Mom and Me, was recently featured in Lens Scratch. Originally from Seattle, Washington, Erika moved to New York City in 2005, where she received her BFA from the New School's Contemporary Music Department for violin performance. Erika has studied and worked as a teaching assistant at the International Center of Photography. Currently living in New York City, Erika continues to work on her personal projects as well as her professional projects in creative portraiture and documentary photography. Welcome, Erika.
Hi, thank you so much, Leslie and Anthoula, for creating this space, and thank you so much, Nestor and Majo, for sharing your work so far. I'm like just stunned. This is so awesome. So yeah, I'll dive right in. Let me share my screen here. Okay. And here we go. Oh, you know what? Sorry, I'm just gonna have you see one image at a time. So I'll go like that. Okay. Oops. Technical difficulties. Let's start that again. Thank you. So my mom died when I was 18 and she was 42, which is the age that I am now. And actually, I'm turning 43 in less than a week, which means I will soon be older than she ever was. I began making this work, which I call Mom and Me, as a way to feel a sense of connection with her and also to address the grief that comes from not having her in my adult life. What I've done is I take old photos of her from family albums, and using double exposure, I place myself into the photo so that I can share space with her as an adult. The images allow for an imagined fantasy where I'm able to interact with her in my everyday life and share these moments of connection with her. When I started making these images, I was also reading for the first time her journals, which span from before she met my father through well into her battle with cancer. I include photos of these journals as well as objects that she held onto through her life as part of this work. The journals and the objects give me a sense of her inner life and help me understand her better. By including them, I hope that I'm including her voice in this project as well, and perhaps adding a collaborative element between the two of us. I began to make the work in April 2020, so that was obviously a very intense and isolating time for many people, maybe everyone. It was here where I live in New York City. I was thinking a lot about loss and connection and disconnection, and I was unable to photograph people the way that I normally do and the way that I love to do. So inspired by the work of South African artist Lebogang Kaganye, I went into my family archive and I made the first couple of images as a way to mark the anniversary of her death, which is April 10th. And when I started it, I thought that that would be a standalone event, that it would be kind of a one-time thing. However, the process and the result were very moving to me, so I continued making more images. Shortly after the first shoot, I temporarily moved from the apartment that I shared with my roommate into a friend's empty apartment for reasons relating to COVID safety and minimizing potential exposure to COVID at that time. When I moved into my friend's empty home, where I ended up staying for 3 months, I took a pile of photos from my family albums, a large box of my mom's things, including her journals, old jewelry, childhood trinkets, and I also brought my violin. Without fully realizing what I was setting myself up to do. I essentially had 3 months alone in this apartment, and I didn't see many people, and I hardly had any work, like job work. So I spent most of the time reading her journals and making these images and playing my violin. So what I'm showing you here first are the still images, of course, but a very important part of this work is that using stop motion, I created moving images, and with those I have the opportunity to interact with my mom and really feel a sense of sharing a living moment together. For each of the moving images, I composed music on my violin and recorded it to pair with the moving images. And again, this was all started in my friend's home during that time. But the work is ongoing, and I continue to photograph more for this project, and actually did earlier this month, revisited it again. And also because I think the age that I'm at right now, it feels like a time that I want to keep deepening this project. And I'll just say, I know this is also something we were going to talk about at the end, but sort of sparked by this work, and when possibilities open up to photograph people again, I've started another project with the double exposures and other people, where I'm photographing them with their younger selves. So it's sort of more an opportunity for healing your child self or connecting with your child self in tender and joyful ways. I'll show you just a few more images here, and then I'll move on to showing you some of the moving images. Oops. All right, so I'm gonna share with you, I think I need to reshare my screen, and I'll show you excerpts of about a minute or so of 3 to 4 of the moving images. Bigger. Move on to the next one. And I'll just share a little bit of one last video. And I'll stop there. That's about my time. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Erika. Wow. I need a minute after this. Really powerful, and the interaction, all the range of emotion between all those different clips. Like some, even with the banana, was joyful and humorous, and then the next one, it's just such an experience of the process of grief and all the different emotions you do feel going through. So I don't think I've ever seen anything like that. So thank you so much. Amazing.
Thanks for allowing me the chance to share in this beautiful space.
Oh, our pleasure.
Woo, I got to read after that. Thanks a lot,
Yeah.
Eric. I think Anthoula and I were both like, I just want to, we'll get into it hopefully later in conversation, but I don't, that feeling of touching someone that you've lost is so, I can feel it so strong looking at that work. Ooh, thank you for that. So beautiful. I'm so glad to see.
Thank you. Yeah, it always wrecks me a little bit, the process of making them, but in a good way of release. So that's good.
Yeah. And your music. So thank you for sharing that as well. It's a whole other dimension of your practice that I was not aware of really until this evening. So thank you. Ooh, all right. Thank you. We'll go to our next artist, Anna. Is here, yeah. Okay, thank you. Born and raised in Alsace, France, Anna Grevenitis, yes, is a visual artist based in Brooklyn, New York, drawing on experiences of domestic to inform her daily practice of the act of performing is important step in image making. Anna uses her home as a stage in her own body and the bodies of others in her familiar sphere to deliver the essence of family and self. Currently, she's a lecturer in English at Baruch College and art and photography at Gutman College in New York City. She divides her time between teaching, research, and creation, and she is interested in building long-term projects in photography as an act of establishing visual memory and engaging in social visibility. She has exhibited solo and international shows in the United States. I'm sorry, solo and group shows in the United States and internationally. Her series Regard has been featured in the New Yorker and more recently recognized by Critics' Choice for Award for Lens Culture and Black and White Award for the Lucy Foundation. She was one of 3 finalists of the 2022 Arnold Newman Prize and is winner of the 17th Joyce Elaine Grant Award at Texas Women's University Fine Art Galleries in Denton, Texas. Welcome, Anna.
Thank you so much, Leslie, and thank you both Leslie and Anthoula for having me here. I'm just so moved by the work that was presented before me. I don't even know if I should start, but I guess I am last, so let's go. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. I'm assuming you can see it. Okay. En l'espace d'une vie explores the existential void and chimeric meanderings fostered by closed adoption. I lived most of my adoptive life atop a mountain, free of care or connection that would make me want to look beyond or understand more. Okay, now this doesn't move for some reason. Let me see. Oh, here we go. Sorry about that. When crossing paths with another adopted person, I could recognize in them what I believed was not in me. They were the ones who were adopted. Yet at times my senses would take over and I would become overwhelmed by the awareness of more. It was not a shadow region in the Jungian sense where things would just pile up and transform into a heavy baggage following me around. It had a life of its own with a multitude of characters and plots that were so foreign to me that I could not start to comprehend. Then, one quiet winter, I gave myself the space to experience what I, for so long, ignored and suppressed. While staging the photographs for En l'espace d'une vie, I enter a world of uncertainty filled with darkness and the unknown. Things feel crooked, shaped wrong, but I'm not alone. I am with my birth mother. I, her, and she, me. In this series of double exposure self-portraits, I aspire to represent the parallel world I imagined as I let myself engulfed with the phantasmic iteration of being her daughter. The physical distance is being repaired on set through performance and by painting each single photograph with its specific colored light. And as we exchange gaze or caress in this other world, I convey the emotional overlap which was always there, using color. Red and green are complementary colors, which means they sit opposite of each other in the color wheel. In En l'espace d'une vie, green represents growth, fertility, wisdom, and comfort. Red is passion. In the case of the series, it is a passion that is contained because the actions that I am imagining and then performing on camera, I never acted them with my birth mother. That passion becomes withheld love, fear, and sometimes anger. The red and the green are interchangeable between the girl and the mother because these emotions are experienced mutually on both sides of the dyad. In our case, we were not afforded closeness, proximity, miscommunication, so repressed emotions inundate the landscape via the colors. In the images, green is absorbing and red is performing. For as long as I can remember, I have imagined memories of my life with my birth mother. And as I create these on camera, through the performance, the memories are allowed to be processed. To accentuate the separation, the clothes that I wear in the photographs are from secondhand stores, worn by people before us that are not us. As I was building this series, my subconscious would trigger a picture in my head that I would then have to bring to life. There is a physical and time constraint to creating the scenes because of the timed double exposure. I first take one photo in one outfit, in one position, in one mood. Then I change costume, placement, attitude. My son helped with the colored lighting. This close collaboration meant that I had now a witness. The healing process had started. After the fact, the memory was sealed in real life, and I was able to move on to another photograph. So I'd like to end with a poem that is part of a memoir that I've been writing to accompany the photo series. The baby I want. Birth, raise, foster, cuddle and cosset her. Serenade her, peruse over her toes. Feel her naked gums suckle on the nipple. Breathe her, tell her all will be fine. Already know her. One day we let her go. She recognizes the meaning of here, will always be. Regarding her eyelashes when wet from tears, the curl of some gathered white hair like the side of a cowlick, dimples in each place. Her laughter, to hear it resonate. My daughter, me. That's it.
Thank you. Wow. Mesmerizing. It's a great word, Majo. Thank you. It's so nice to hear you read with that, because you experience the images in one way, and then there's this whole other, the writing would be as important as the image making, right? And that experience of listening to you read it is really powerful. Thank you so much. And I love that your son is helping with the lights. That's beautiful.
Yeah, it's really helpful in all sorts of ways.
Yes, absolutely. Well, thank you, everyone. Maybe we could unmute for a minute and make our woo. I like it. I like a little noise affirmation. I don't know about you all, but do it. Thanks, Mom. And people are still coming to the talk. I love it. Amazing. Anthoula, would you like to say anything? And we'll go ahead, folks, and use the chat if you have questions.
Yes,
Or
please.
go ahead, Anthoula.
Yeah, feel free to unmute and talk, ask any questions or respond to any of the work. This is just sort of the next few minutes we could spend starting a conversation or asking each other any questions, but I'm blown away by all the work. It's never a surprise to see how deep this work goes, and how much the healing process is part of the artistic process, and how they're pretty much the same process. So thank you again to all four of you for sharing and taking the time. So if anyone has any, or any of the artists want to ask each other any questions, this is sort of, we have a few more minutes to just do that.
I have a process question, and then we can move away from that. I know, and this is, I'd like to say Anthoula and I did it on purpose because that would be amazing, but it's maybe it was intuitive. It was intuitively selecting which artists to show with which artists, that each of you are using photography, like pushing it, pushing that limit of the two-dimensional space, and really using the materials of it in ways that speak about time and material, and I don't even know how to articulate it, all of those things about photography that so many of us hold on to, which is this idea that we can't actually hold on to anything, right? That we're trying to like keep something by being image makers. So for example, I would love to hear from you. Do each of you always use these kinds of multiple processes, or the erasure of the image, or was that kind of a new process for this particular body of work that came to you through the materials? Anyone can answer.
Maybe I could start,
Please.
since no one's talking right now. I think of every project as a newborn. So, for example, do you know that babies get born like almost blind, and they start like developing sight, like through a process and through engaging through life. And the thing about my projects is that it's almost like very instinctively, like it's an instinct. And I have no idea that in this particular project, the one with the fog film, honestly, I couldn't ever possibly thought about making a Ouija board with Braille. This all started because I was committed to the process. I was experiencing the process, and the process told me we need to do this in order to address the memories that are lost right now. And it's almost like there's a problematic like exploding in your brain, in your whole body. And I only remember the question, how do I contact those images? How do I contact those images? And so I decided to make a Ouija board, and no one wanted to make a Ouija board with me, because it's supposed to be maleficent. Make a Braille Ouija board. It's supposed to be, it's something like really full of prejudice towards blind people. So that's a way. I also want to make visible the things that are sometimes invisible, and the things that are visible are prejudice. and that we are judgmental. And so that way, I do care for the result and the way I socialize my works.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm not sure if this is exactly, if I fully understood your question, but it did make me think of something else that might be related, but just in the sense of time and addressing time, passing or
Mhm.
making it nonlinear. At first, I thought that this work was very different than anything I ever made, and visually it really is. But looking back, I've definitely processed the way I think about time and what would happen if we could experience time in a nonlinear way and experience every time our hair is growing all through our entire life in one moment, or and so sometimes I think that's a similar manifesting in some of these projects.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Thinking about also the confines of how we've been taught to present photographically, or at least my generation was first to last, left to right. And I think it doesn't ultimately serve any of us, maybe for photojournalism or something, but as artists, how do we collapse the time? How do we start having memories of our life? They're not before and after. I think that is clear in that work that you're making. Néstor and Anna, do you have any response to like materials that you were drawn to, or particularly to this project or this topic of grief? Thank you.
I have I'm feeling the same pull and constraint with the idea of time as I'm writing that memoir on the side for the photos, because everything is basically just kind of coming to me as a memory. And so it's very hard to, you start when you were born and you continue like that. So everything is kind of like a little bit disorganized, but the disorganization is actually the power of it, because it's not a linear story, because everything was repressed for so long. And so those images, those quasi memories that some existed, some didn't, this world I would live in at times and not, it's all disorganized and it's all been with me my whole life. And so how do I create either in writing or in images something that will that I can share with someone so they can understand what it feels like, I'd say, and not just react to it by saying, well, this is disorganized, this is not, like I started tonight, I showed the photo of the birthday cake, not the breastfeeding or the birth, right? Because it's not linear. And also some of those things happened to me later on in life when I became a mom, that I started relating to, how much she had felt when she was pregnant with me. So it's none of it is linear. So how do you show it? It's open-ended question, I guess. Yeah.
Thank you.
It's interesting because you created me with all people that are doing self-portraits, and I normally always do self-portraits, but somehow tonight I decided not to show self-portraits, which is interesting. But
Yes.
for me, it's I love both you and Anthoula because you've expanded a lot the way that I think about my practice, because I never really thought about grief as a word. I think because in Spanish, the word grief translates specifically about somebody dying. And so I didn't think about all the different levels of grief that happen in English, right? There's so many different levels to it. And so yeah, I'm going off on a tangent, but I guess to your question, I've always been very interested on expanding the idea of photography and not just sticking with the traditional framing and self-portrait and all of that. And so I've been wanting, I dream so much about chemigrams. I love chemigrams. And so it's finally sparked on me to talk about fat phobia and using all of these materials that are, most of us look at them in a very negative way, right? Like lard, vegetable shortening, butter, oils, etc., because we're so fearful of being fat. And so the ability to become a little bit more abstract and paint on the photographic emotion was something that was very appealing for me. Yeah.
Thank you.
We love you too. I had a question about also, now that I just think of all four artists, the idea of memory and fragmenting memory is, everyone is working in that way. And yes, using the body, self-portraiture is also a common denominator, which I feel like the chemigrams are also self-portraits with a hand. But also the way of presenting, like we've heard spoken word with images in almost all four presentations too, which is very much, I mean, not everyone presents their work in that way. Maybe we'll see a caption or something else, but using poetry in relation juxtaposed next to images, I think is really powerful. Is that something that always were parts of your work, or is this something that's come about within the working with grief? I wonder if this is something that you're continuing to work on in the future, or what might be next, or another project you may be working on.
Well, I think I go first. Yes, I think it's a big topic for me because I am experiencing it right now, like at this very moment. But not only because I am start losing my mom because of her diagnosis, but also because I am transitioning day by day, and some parts of me I already know that are gonna get lost. And the thing, could I show you the Ouija board, because I is this one? So it's kind of big.
Yeah.
And the words are yes, no, and goodbye here. But the signature here is the word light in Braille. And it has an open crack. And it's supposed to be open, to stay open like that, because I think these processes, like all processes in life and death, are supposed to stay open so we could still receiving those gifts. And I know maybe, possibly, after this talk, I'm gonna cry like a lot. And I'm holding right now. But I know my heart is full, and I know my heart is open. And so I think all processes are just processes, and they keep going, and all projects, they are non-stopping. And the thing is that I don't think there are bads or wrongs. You only have to keep going. And that is the way I think about grief. There is no right way of grieving.
Yeah. You only have to keep going. Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you. And thank you for sharing your Ouija board with us. Yes. I feel so special.
Thank you.
I just want to shout out someone who's in the room who will nameless, who's in India right now. It's the middle of the night. So I love these folks who show up for us.
Yeah.
Anyone else want to respond to that question or comment from Anthoula?
I think for me, I never thought about writing, although I'm a huge reader. I love reading literature and whatnot. But at some point, I guess in my practice, I wanted to get into the details and the nitty-gritty of the stories, and yes, I've spoken about fat phobia before. I've spoken about body dysmorphia before and mental health through photography, but how can I then get into the nitty-gritty and get those emotions through? And it's interesting because for me, I never looked at text by itself. There's always a visual component. I didn't obviously show the entire performance piece, which is a multimedia piece that has video and a performance. So it was a way for me to really get into the nitty-gritty and really hash it out and sort of convey the layers of emotions that come with being a survivor of bullying.
Yeah, thank you. And that story that you've told about when you were little with the t-shirt is one that I think you've been, you've shared that once before. And I think it's is it something that these things that we're always working through, they just stay with us. They stay with us, as Anna said, these things that we're just trying to express out and out. And I was thinking about Erika too. This is, deeply personal, but we're in this space. I've been doing a lot of guided meditation work with someone who's doing like that inner child shadow work to heal, and that you can reimagine that situation. Anna, with your project too, you can reimagine yourself in that situation with your with your mom, and it's really powerful and really healing and moving. Maybe that's too much information, but that came up for both of your projects as well. And you mentioned it, in fact, Erika, that process of, have you felt closer to your mom, or has it brought you any kind of, I don't know how to ask that, but how are you doing?
I'm doing well.
Happy
Thank you.
birthday in next week. And
Yeah, no, I've definitely been thinking about her more when I'm doing this work. I mean, when somebody that you're close to in your life passes, I think very often we think about them a lot, through our lives. But when I'm actively doing this and I'm thinking about how do I want to relate to her in this image, and what would I be doing if she was here now? What would I be doing if she just appeared? And what would I be doing if she'd been here all along? And I've been thinking more also about like, um, how would we agree on certain issues that are going on in the world? What kind of feminist would she be? What kind of a Jewish person would she be? What would she be standing for with social justice? And I think about this more, and I think about how I kind of have this vision of what our relationship would be, and I'm exploring it, but I have no idea. It's a fantasy, but I definitely found myself kind of fantasizing about many possibilities and more kind of day-to-day mundane details. I also wanted to say, I know I didn't use spoken word or poetry in mine, but this is the first time that I included music in my photography practice. I've had them separate before. And for me, when I first started making those recordings, I actually didn't intentionally make them for this work. And it was more as a self-healing meditation because of the other hard times that were going on in the spring of 2020. And then I realized that really, I was making them simultaneously without realizing that they were meant to go together. But then I've been thinking a lot also about healing as a component of grief. And you talked about that for a minute, Majo, just now. But I'm thinking, well, you didn't talk about, I'm not sure if you said healing, but something you said made me think of this in terms of there's no wrong way to grieve. And I'm just thinking, like, is it possible to grieve without healing? Is processing and experiencing grief itself a healing process? I'm not sure. I'm kind of thinking about this out loud right now, and I think it's possible. They definitely seem very connected to me, and sometimes moving through those painful things creates healing. This project has definitely been healing for me, but I know some people also become stuck in grief and it doesn't feel like it heals, or maybe in a way it never heals. So I don't really know, but I've been thinking about that as well.
I can relate with Erika when you say feeling stuck in it, because when I started to explore, you know, my adoption story, or before that, was about 5 years ago, and it really felt that I entered a tunnel, and I was on that. I did not know if I was gonna be able to get out at any point. And I think I've always journaled like my whole life, but I think that's where I started to write. I wouldn't say more seriously, because journaling is very serious, but in a way that maybe I would share my writing. So writing with maybe an audience in mind instead of just for me. And I saw this writing that I was doing as something that would kind of like ground me, because everything else was just so surreal and so emotional and so raw. And I still had to function in regular life, but I had to do that work. And with the photos, as you see, they're very out there. But even to get to these photos, I had tried several other different series that, you know, try kind of like drafting all sorts of different ways. But really the writing really helped me just kind of like, yeah, stay grounded, and having a way to, not that I shared the writing actually with anyone, but just knowing it's out there and people could maybe read it one day. So I would have to kind of like try to make sense a little bit, at least in the writing. Maybe that's how I could explain it.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Yeah, if anyone has any other questions or comments, please feel free. If not, we're going to wrap things up. Just want to share this quick slide to say thank you to everyone, and also a huge shout out. Leslie, you wanted to say something?
I just was wondering if all of the artists, not to put you on the spot, if there's anywhere we can see your work or know more about you or connect with you. I put people's Instagrams in the chat. Also, I just want to hold a little space for Majo's mama right now. And then there was Carrie in the chat, who also is with their mother at the moment. Just to send you all some love and care. But where can we see what's next for any of you, for all of you? Not that you have to have anything next. This is amazing. It's that question we always ask. Go ahead, Néstor. What have you got cooking?
I don't have a lot of cooking, but definitely follow me on social media, because that's the best way to keep in touch. But I am giving a talk next week at the Center for Photography in Woodstock. It's in person, but it's gonna be live streamed on YouTube. So if you follow me, you can find the details of the talk. And I'll be presenting my entire photographic practice, performance practice. So
Thank you.
If anybody lives in New York City and wants to do a photo shoot with their inner child,
Yes.
or if you come through New York City, that's something I'm really excited to work on. So I just started putting the word out more that I'm getting back into that work. So feel free to reach out to me. And yeah, the Instagram handle's a great way to touch. Thank you for that.
Thank you. And Majo?
Thank you. At 6 Degrees of Separation, we have an upcoming show on 2027 at San Antonio, Texas. So we're going to be there at Centro de Artes. And this project is going to be there with the Ouija board and everything. So if someone at Texas wants to go visit and just pass and say hi, me and Francisco are going to be there. And You could just follow us at Instagram. We are 6.grados.separación. And you can follow me also at my Instagram, which I already gave it to you. And that would be all for me. And thanks a lot for the support and all the love you expressed. For me, it's very important to feel in a community and for everyone.
Thank you. And finally, Anna, did you want to share anything? I know you're
Sure. I'm having it's not public because it's at the university where I teach, Gutman Community College. I'm having an artist talk for Women Her Story Month, which is quite important for me because it's for the other series that I've done, which is with my, it's double self-portrait, including my daughter, who has disabilities. And so the cool thing about this artist talk, and I'm very excited, is she will be there and she will talk about her process as being first a sitter, then a collaborator. And I'm hoping that, the students that I usually teach are going to be there and ask her questions. And she's super excited about the talk. So that's very, I'm very happy about that. And otherwise, you have my Instagram contact, and I'm, slowly working on this memoir and maybe adding more of the photos that I've already been doing. Yeah. Thank you so much for tonight. And I just wanted to mention also the bravery of all the artists that presented, because I'm even like emotional talking about it, but when it's not just grief, but things that are so highly personal, that it takes a lot of courage to make the work and even more to present the work. So I just wanted to mention that, and a lot of love to Majo and to your mom.
All right. Well, thank you everyone so much. We will be in touch very shortly. And thank you everyone for coming out from all around the world, and our artists who are here tonight that we're sharing in the past few times. So thank you everyone. Thank you. We'll be in touch.
Thank you, everyone.
Feel good.
It's wonderful. Thanks.